Good morning, everybody. 8:10 a.m., July 24th. Welcome to my channel. Yesterday, we didn't have much going on yesterday with the market. The market kind of like traded in a range, tried to push higher, couldn't do it. And everybody waited for Tesla and Google earnings. Tesla's not looking too hot, down 8%. Google had some AI expenses showing, cutting into margins. They're down almost 4%. All right, so that's what's going on this morning. We're gapping down. All right, and when it market opened at 6, it caused like another gap. It opened with a gap down. Interesting. All right, now we're at some key levels, and just curious what's going to happen today. All right, it's had some other earnings report this morning. Um, we'll get into all that. We'll get into all that. So, without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the market. That's my edge. Also use gamma exposure levels, supply and demand, and the most traded price of the year, the month, and the week, in the previous day. All helps me find structure in the markets, right? Helps me come up with a game plan. So every day, hopefully, you can have a cup of coffee, enjoy me, summarize what happened yesterday, what's going on this morning, what do I see, what's going to happen possibly today. That's what I do every day. Hopefully, you can join me, all right? Because I summarize everything. And then we get into some daily charts, and then around 8:30 a.m. I'll get into some scenarios with long and short plays in the Nasdaq ES futures. I do my analysis in futures with the market profile, volume profile, in certain levels I have on my charts, and I do that live with you guys. All right, and that's where I come up for my plan. And regardless if I'm going to trade SPX, NDX, QQQ, SPY, or futures, ES, or Nasdaq, I just do my analysis there. Okay, so let's get into this. Why don't we get right into the futures? All right, let's get right into futures and see what's going on here. Let's see what's going with the futures. Okay. Now we got the VIX up 4.28% at 15.35. All right. Bitcoin's up 1.45. Now what I saw with that is Kamala. All right. Now I don't know if these polls are correct, but they're saying she's leading Trump. Another thing I saw, Mark Cuban said that Kamala's reaching out to him about crypto questions. So either candidate really is bullish for crypto, I guess. So that's there. Now crude, woo, crude, okay, came down to the most traded price of this year. And if I have time, I will show you guys that I'm probably looking at some type of long in crude. Just have to see, okay? It's doing what I expected right now. So now silver is up 0.64, gold's up 0.48, ether's up 0.16. Ether has those ETFs. 10-year yield doesn't report to 820. 30-year bonds, look at that, flat. Interesting, they're flat. Dollar's down 0.14. Interesting there, right? Russell's down 0.33. Dow's down 0.43. ES down 0.82. The Nasdaq, the big loser, down 1.26%. Okay, what Google? You got some heavyweights down this morning. All right, we'll get into that right into the Mag 7 plus, right there. Boom. Now we do have a little bit of a leader in Coinbase, which is only because of Bitcoin. All right. Then we go into, let's go into the one percenters. Microsoft down 1%, AMD down 1.4, Nvidia down 1.79, Broadcom down 1.81, Meta down 2.84%, Google down 3.8%, and Tesla, the big loser, down 8.28% of profits, worse than they were last year, cut into the margins. Kind of knew this already, that they did a bunch of model price cuts. You're going to cut into margins. So I don't think this was that unpredictable. Anyway, that's the Max 7 Plus. Let's move over to the top sectors. Let's see what's moving over here. Okay. We got Exxon and Chevron leading the pack, and then we got a bunch of laggards. We'll get into the bigger laggards here. Goldman Sachs down 0.34, Procter & Gamble down 0.61, Eli Lilly down 0.65, Salesforce down 0.76, Qualcomm Semi down 1.11, Visa reported earnings they missed a little bit, and they are down 3.55%. Okay, that's what's going on there. Now, let's look at a swing trade list here. Who's leading? Enphase reported earnings and they beat. Texas Instruments beat earnings as well. MicroStrategy with Bitcoin ETF is up. CrowdStrike trying to come off those levels of 268 yesterday. All right, Riot basically with Bitcoin. Junior miners up 1%. Mara, okay. Western Digital, what is that? T-Mobile, because I saw AT&T beat, so maybe a little sympathy play there. All right, that's the leaders there. There's not tons of them. Let's go with laggards. Vertiv reported earnings and they beat, but they're selling off, down almost 4%. Lucid down 3.31%. Donald Trump down 3%. They're saying due to Kamala Harris leading polls. We'll see about that. Trade Desk down 2.89. Roku down 2.16. ARM Semis down almost 2%. Micron down 1.8. ARC down 1.76. All right. Look at that. General Motors down. Taiwan Semiconductors down. Supermicro Computers down. The usual suspects. Dell down. Boston Scientific down. Applied Materials, Ford, AstraZeneca, Unity Software, and GameStop down 1%. Okay. Let's go back to the leaders. Let's go back to top sectors. Reset my chart, and we'll go to sectors. And this is where what moves the market, folks. This is why the market moves the way it does. Leader is energy, up 0.2. Then we all got losers here. All right. Now, the heavyweights are all down. Okay. Healthcare is the only one that's like, it's down, but it's not down big. Now we got communications down 0.33. Financials down 0.46. Here's the big one. Technology down 0.91%. Semis down 1.19%. And the big loser of the day is discretionary with Tesla down 1.55%. Okay? That's what we have going on, folks. That's going on. So we're pretty weak. Now, do we stay weak? I don't know. Right? I can't answer that until the market opens. Okay? I can't say that until the market opens. All right, now, why don't we get into some economic calendar, some market news. All right? Let's do it. Boom. What do we have today? Now, you got to be a little weary today around 9:45 and 10. So that kind of, these days kind of suck a little bit, because unless I'm finding something at 9:35, which is rare, probably staying away to about 10:10. Okay, so what do we have? Today we have 8:30 retail inventories, wholesale inventories, right? 9:45 a.m. you got about a bunch of S&P Global data. So, and then 10 a.m. new home sales. So I'm just hands off unless 9:35ish I see something, which is rare. So most likely I'm hands off. Okay, that's economic calendar. Let's look at the financial. Let's look at the financial juice here. Let's see here. What's the risk? What's the risk? Let's see. Nothing really here. And we can go here, and I've talked about this already. All right, so real quick, Tesla. So Tesla slumped 8.6 as the electronic manufacturer after its second quarter earnings missed estimates amid falling vehicle sales. Okay. And then Google stock fell 3.7 at the tech giant's expenses rose substantially year on year amid continued expenditure on AI development. Told you about the Trump stock with Kamala leading the polls. Visa, we talked about. Texas Instruments had good earnings. AT&T also added additional users with their new high-tier unlimited plans. Enphase beat earnings. That's all I wanted to talk about there. Let's move over to more news here. See if there's anything else here. Google, we talked about that. Nvidia. All right, what do we have here? Nvidia clears Samsung's HBM3 chips for use in China market, processor source says. Okay. Um, I'm just gonna look if there's anything that I haven't really talked about. All right, let's look at the CrowdStrike, what it's talking about here. CrowdStrike Holdings Inc. and Microsoft Corp. U.S. Fortune 500 companies, excluding Microsoft, will face 5.4 billion in financial losses from the recent CrowdStrike outage. Wow. Insurer Parametric said insured losses from the outage will likely total 540 million to 1.08 billion for the companies. Wow, that's crazy. That is nuts. Just trying to see anything else that's going to make me talk about it. Let's see Meta, because Meta's down. Meta Platforms released the biggest version of its mostly free Llama 3 artificial intelligence models on Tuesday, boasting multilingual skills and general performance metrics that nip at the heels of paid models from rivals like OpenAI. Uh, we got we'll probably see this anyway. Google, JP Morgan raises target price to 208 from 200. GE got their price target raised from 190 from 175. Tesla raises target price from 300 from 205, and UPS gets the price target cut to 129 from 155. Okay, that's about it there. Let's go to the upgrades and downgrades. Let's look at those together. All right, so we have upgrades here. Let's see what we got. Lockheed Martin upgraded. Spotify upgraded after great earnings. Okay, downgrades. All right, here we go. Just will explain some movers. Five Below got downgraded. General Motors got downgraded. That makes sense now, right? Procter and Gamble's down. That's why they got downgraded. Who else? Tesla downgraded by two different firms. Downgraded from overweight to neutral. Downgraded from a buy to neutral. And Ulta Beauty got downgraded. Ulta Beauty, if you haven't noticed, has been beaten down, really beaten down, and been really trying to break out. And this is not going to help it. Okay. Let's look at some initiations. Nothing really to note here. Price target changes. We'll go with target raises first. Let's see here. I'm only going Tesla got target raised. Seagate target raised. Spotify target raised. Shopify target raised to 67. Let's see here. There's the Alphabet target raised from 200 to 206, 187 to 190. Enphase target raised. Chipotle target raised. Oh, there's a lot of target raises today. All right, target lowered. Let's do those. Visa target lowered to 322, 319. UPS target lowered to 155. Tesla lowered 258, 230. CrowdStrike down to 350. That's about it there. All right, folks. That does that. Now, if we want to go look at the earnings here, what did we have this morning? We had all the stuff I talked about already. This morning, AT&T, Vertiv. Oh, Nextera. I didn't even see what they did. Nextera, I mean, they're up right now, but not big. So, I'm owner of Nextera. Good they're not down big. That's all I care about. All right. After the close today, Chipotle, Ford, IBM, Sands. That's what we have today. Okay. Before the open tomorrow, American Airlines, AbbVie, Hasbro, Honeywell, RTX, Southwest Airlines, Keurig, Dr. Pepper, AstraZeneca, Valero. Good morning, Muhammad. Good morning. All right, so let's look at those daily charts. Okay. Let's look at the daily charts together, folks. All right, so here we go. All right, so what did we do yesterday? A whole lot of nothing, really. Okay, it's moving like I expected. Okay, so if we zoom in a little bit here, tried to close over this 9 EMA daily, couldn't do it. You can see this support was a 20 simple moving average right here yesterday. Did move up, but the market wasn't really super strong. Wasn't really super strong, the SPY. Okay, if you looked at the internals, it just wasn't a super strong day. But remember, market cap weighted stocks is what moved the market. Okay, so where are we at now? 549. We're at 549. Look at that. Whoa, my lord. So we closed here at 553. We are all the way down. 548. Let's see, right under 549. So right here. So you notice last week's lows is 547, call it 548. That's going to be a level to watch. Okay, last week's lows is a level to watch. Okay, very, very important. Now, above is, what is this? This is June's highs. June's monthly highs right here. Okay, 550. This is a really interesting area to be in. Okay, because if you break 548, look to the left, you don't have much support until about 540, let's call it 543. And what does that line up with? 50-day moving average. It's rising. It's a rising 50-day moving average. So that could be the next stop. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen. Now look at the futures, so you get kind of like what is really going on right now. Boom. And that is not what's really going on. Now we got to move this chart. There we go. Okay, so you can see right here. Boom. So right here, see futures give you a nice look. This is last week's lows, right? 555.42 in futures. That's the level to look at. Can that get broken? Now look, same thing. Look to the left. You have a level of like 5505, call it 5500, a rising 50-day moving average here. This could definitely be a destination, 5500 in futures. Okay, in futures. And if you just look at it alone in structure, look, you make a sell, and you're holding prices lower. You have a good opportunity to go lower. Don't know if it does. Okay, don't know if it does. Let's look at Qs. Okay, we're testing this uptrend line, right? Couldn't break it, and look what the wick happened. Now, I was long the Qs yesterday. Had a nice big 233% winner up into this move here, but then it sold off. Look at that wick. Oof. Right at the 9 EMA daily. Okay. Inside, close inside the prior day session. Now again, where are we at now? 473.90. Woo. We are right at last week's lows. Okay, that's why I have these levels on my chart. These oranges are the previous week's lows. We are right there. So that's a level that if we can't break, that you could get a little bounce there. Okay, and you got the 50-day moving average at 40.72. Now notice this is weaker than NASDAQ than the SPY, because look at the left, look to the left. That's been support before, and we're already there. Remember, the SPY has not reached this same kind of area yet. The NASDAQ's been relatively weak. Okay, so this is a big level for the NASDAQ, the Qs, 474. Next stop, all right, I want to show you in the Qs. The next stop, you have poor structure here, and you have a gap right here. There's a gap right here. That could get filled. Filled gap would be 467, 468. But you really could start to move down to this level, 460. 478, which is 461, call it. If you really get going, that's a big support level right here. You can see it, right? 473, 470. You don't have structure here that's supportive and a gap. It's just not. So you could be making a move to 461. Have to see. Let's look at futures. Let's look at a live look of what we're talking about here and what I'm saying. So look, last week's lows. Just like I said, we're there right now. And in futures, you're at the 50-day moving average. See that? It's right there. It's right there. So where can we go next? Here's the level in the futures, 19,265. 19,265. But we're right at the 50-day moving average. So this is tricky. Okay? This is tricky. Make sense? Hopefully that all makes sense. Okay? So this area is like really tough to be like, I'm short in this. Because people are probably going to go, if we don't break this, they're going to take profits, cause a bounce. Okay? We just have to see. Remember, we're already down almost 9% in Tesla and over 4% in Google. Okay? All right. Let's move on to triple-headed monster. Let's go to that 10-year yield. So what are we looking at here? 10-year yield is kind of flat, basically. It's only down 0.09. Actually 0.05 now. In a range. Nothing to see here, folks. Look at this little range. Nothing to see here. I think we got core PC on Friday. So that probably is what's waiting for. Okay. Now, let's look at our dollar. I believe this has been doing not much of anything either. See? They kind of do the same things. In a little range here. Nothing to see here, folks. Okay, let's go to the VIX. Now that is something to look at. Okay. Over the 200 day, over the 100 day, you got a rising 9 EMA daily. Okay. And now we're over 15 again. Remember, this is 30 days out of fear. The 16 VIX makes a 1 expected move in the daily of the S&P 500. A 1% expected move in the daily. In the S&P 500. I don't know why I keep saying the daily. Okay. So that's it for the triple-headed monster. The VIX is the thing that's moving. Okay. People are getting a little more fear put into this market. All right. Tech, Google really didn't crap the bed, really. Tesla kind of did, but Google really didn't. So it just shows you where we're at right now. And we have an election coming. I don't know if you've been hearing what I've been saying. Election is uncertainty, especially with all the events that's happened. Now you have Kamala Harris. Now supposedly she's leading the polls. There's a bunch of uncertainty. Okay? People want to de-risk in uncertainty. Okay, I don't know if this means we fall and fall and fall, but that's generally, we don't know who's going to win the election. That's a de-risking event. Okay? That makes sense, but doesn't mean the market has to make sense. So it makes sense to de-risk before the election, and then Santa Claus after who we find out who is the president. Okay? Okay. Now, let's get to the main event. To my best friend, my edge, market profile. Okay? Market profile. There we go. Volume profile. All right. Alrighty, folks. Let's go. What's going on here? All right. What's going on here? Let's get it right into it. Okay. So first thing we're going to look at. Let's look at that profile. The composite volume profile of the last week. Here we go. Here's value area. 70% of the trade happened here. Okay. We are below value right here. 55.49. Okay. Now, this low of 55.42 has not been violated yet. We are pushing down right now. Okay. Now we also have a composite high volume node around 55.30. Right here, I have a blue box here. It's kind of hard to see it. That's a key level that the market can bounce off of. Okay, that's a key level the market could bounce off of. All right. Now, like if you talk about this range, like I said, this is kind of like the swing low. And let's see what we do when we revisit this. And like I said, big level below. Okay. These are hard to gauge, all right? So now, you see you have this little gap? You have a gap here from 6 o'clock right here. Okay. And you can see what happened yesterday. All right, I want to show you something. Here's the month-to-date VWAP right here. You notice when ES hit that yesterday and it could not clean these single prints, the market roll over, right? Part of my pre-market plan, but these shorts, I'll be honest with you, have been really hard to read because the market has been turning on a dime lately. So what do? I'm going to show you guys what I do with the single prints. All I do is that's how much they got cleaned yesterday, so I just adjust the single prints, and now there's a little bit of single prints there. Okay. So we're down big, all right? Big gap downs are very, very hard to read. Okay, so here's the gap fill. Price is here. Okay. Price, it's a big gap down, boy. That's a pretty big one. Okay, so we're pushing right now. So how do you look at this? Well, first thing is gap rules. All right, now this is a pretty big one. This is pretty big. All right, when it's this big, I'm going to tell you something. You look at the half gap or the 50% retracement of this move. That's about 55.76. That's the midpoint of the overnight session. That happens to line up with a supply zone. Okay, that is a defense for the sellers. Okay, that's how you read that. Now the gap fill at 55.93.75. What you have to look at is this is such a big gap, so that's why I'm saying this midpoint 55.76 is your first key level. But generally in gap rules, most bearish in this case is a gap and go. Second most is if you, let's say you move back, but you fail to fill the gap, you could roll over. Third is this would be a big move, so this is such a big gap that if you filled this gap, geez, that's a big way to come back. But you could also roll over. And then if you go back into yesterday's range, that's not actually bearish at all. So that's how we look at this gap. But big gaps like this, they're not easy, folks. Not easy. So let's look at inventory. So we opened here in the overnight. This is the long activity to this much short activity. That's about, I would say, probably 85 to 90% net long. Net long. Most traded price of the overnight is 55.61. These are shorts, folks. Okay. This is what I'm saying. It's very hard to short this. You really have to be patient. So what are we looking at? Okay. What are we looking at? We have a big, big, big demand zone below here. Okay. So with a big level, right? We have a weak high. Let's look at the weak high. This is the overnight highs. Lines up with the most traded price of the week and the most traded price of yesterday. So that's a weak high in supply right here. But we're so far away from that. So, but I have to point it out. Okay. Now 55.42. If we reach that, could get a bounce here. So this is our other key level, along with the high composite high volume node right here around 55.30 in this demand. And you also have a naked VPOC from the past around July 2nd. Okay, this July 2nd just means that the most traded price of that day has never been tested. So that's what I put them on my chart. So you have this for bulls to defend it. Okay. So honestly, folks, here's what we got. Sellers, you need to be re-engaged at the midpoint of the overnight session in the supply zone. Buyers, you need to see what they do at 55.42 to this 55.30 because you got demand in the naked VPOC. That's the story. That is the story. So we're going to get into the scenarios right now. Like I do this live. Live, I don't look at this and analyze it before I talk to you guys. So let's talk about a bull case here. Okay, let's talk about it. And I might go into a little something about high volume nodes in a second. All right, so here's that line in the sand. Bulls need to defend. 55.42 is the last swing low, down to 55.30 right here. It's a composite high volume node. You can see right here that volume. Okay, now bulls have to defend this level, and you also have a big demand zone here. That's why it's all highlighted green. This is really important for the bulls to defend. So what I want to look for is, if we do come in here, what do we do? What do we do? How do we react here? If we do this, this, well, I will be looking to get long, possibly target that most traded price of the overnight and try to go for this demand zone, supply zone up here. If this gets broken and holding, yeah, I'm not looking long. Okay, that's one scenario I'm really looking at, right? That's really all I'm interested in, to be honest with you. Now, the sellers who have the upper hand right now, okay, what I would like to see, let's say if you don't want to be bullish, all right, let's say we do this, push down, and then we come up. What I'm going to say here is 55.61 is the most traded price of the overnight. Okay, this could definitely act as resistance. Okay, so if we can't get over that, you could roll over. And if you break this level, 55.30, boy, you can go down into 50-day moving average in the ES. Okay. Second, what else can happen? All right, let's say we come down here and we break this, but then we have to deal with this supply. And the 50% retracement of the overnight could also have the same fate. That's probably all I'd be interested in. Why? Because if we take out the half point of this and the market starts moving this way, the bears don't have much to show. Okay, that is not a good sign for the bears. So that's what I'm looking at, folks. That's your ES scenarios. Let's go over to the NASDAQ. Let's look at that structure. How is that structure? It's relatively weak, but we have key levels to look at. Okay, now there's a lot of things to talk about here. I'm going to try to be brief. We know we got a big gap. I'm not going to talk about gap rules because I did that already. Okay, where's price? Look at the difference. Remember I talked about that swing low in the ES? I said it hasn't been tested yet. Well, the NASDAQ's already broke it. Relatively weak, right? This is a big gap that has not been filled. We're in that gap right now. Okay, NASDAQ is relatively weak. Okay, relatively weak. So this is something to look at. Now, if this gap acts as support somewhere here, that could be bullish, because a weak market should fill the gap. Okay, so we already know we're gap down big. Now, one important note I want to talk about. Okay, we are in ultimate balance. Remember I talked about 20,000? Well, this is where I got long yesterday. A real quick recap of why I got long. Okay, real quick recap. Here was value area low from the prior session. Okay, and the most traded price of the week was like right here yesterday. Okay, so when we came down here, also happened to be monthly gamma flip point in the Qs. So when it came down briefly and the market wasn't super weak, I rode that puppy. Whoop! I brought it all the way up here. But see, the market couldn't hold prices above 20,000, and then it came back. Okay, now this is what I want to talk about. 20,000 is the most traded price of the month and the week. So this is not a surprise why this move is being so exaggerated. You got to understand, the most traded price, 20,000, is the weekly most traded price and the monthly most traded price. Doesn't matter. We know longs and shorts are there. The most trades have happened there. Okay? If you move away from it, people are going to be in pain who were long. It's not a surprise that this is happening. Okay? This is not a surprise at all. This move could even be larger. Okay? So, let's talk about this right now. So I already have scenario. Now we have a demand zone down here. Okay? Right here. All right. So how am I going to look at this? And look, here's the inventory. That's the long to the short. So we're very short. Okay? We're thinning out. We're thinning out into this gap. We're thinning out. Okay? The midpoint of this overnight is 197.98. Lines up right with this supply zone. So same thing in the ES. This is sellers got to defend this. Buyers got to defend the gap. That's all it is, folks. That's all it is. All right. Also have a weak high in the overnight high, but that doesn't really matter with the 20,000. That's so far away. That's very far away. Okay, so let's get right into scenarios. Okay. Let's get into this. All right, let's get into this. Okay, we're going to talk about bull first. Remember the gap I talked about. Here's that gap from the past, right there. And we have demand also right here. Okay, so this is this area. It's got to be defended by the bulls. Remember, this gap should get filled in a weak market. If the market can't fill that gap and you start doing this, lower high, well, we're going to test the most traded price of the overnight. This is the 50-day moving 50-day moving average right here. And we're going to probably try to test the supply if that happens. You could also come down here, extend, fill the gap into demand, and also bounce off of it. I don't know how high you go. You might just go here. Remember, I showed you at very, very key level. Whoa. See that push down? Wow. Market's really getting weak right now. Okay. Still doesn't mean much. It just doesn't change the plan. Okay. However, let's look at that short place. Okay. Now, it's very hard for me to short this in the hole like this. I don't really like that. The risk to reward is not there. Okay, so you're extending out here. Okay, you're extending out into this gap. Okay, so there's going to be a bounce most likely on the open, but that's hard to judge. All right, now really what I'm only seeing is even if we come back and push down and pull up, I'm going to look again at this most traded price at the overnight to be the resistance. And if we hit that, then we could roll over if we get this bounce. There should be some type of relief bounce. Okay, fill the gap, then test this demand zone. Okay, that's one. Because I don't like the gap and go. I don't trade like that. So it could happen. We could just poof, go right down to these single prints here. Okay, but that, for me, I'm talking about trade setups. I don't really like that much. So we could also take out this, go into this supply, and also roll over. Okay, this is very hard. I'm just being honest with you. These big gaps like this are really hard to trade. All right, because what's going to happen is people who are long yesterday are now underwater. So, okay, so let me explain. So if you do this, you push. This is just psychology, and the market does this. Guess what those people probably are going to do who are long? They're going to get out. That's why we could do this. Okay. Again, doesn't mean it has to happen, just psychology, right? All right, now, bonus time. All right, that's the scenarios. Bonus time. I'm going to show you why high volume nodes matter. Okay. We're going to go to the ES first. All right. This is my chart that I look at for high volume nodes, and just it's a great chart. Okay, and I'll give you really quick explanation of why I like it. Let me pick a color here that stands out. Let's do blue. Okay, real quickly on this chart, every blue is a weekly profile. Okay, those are weeklies. Okay, every white outline profile is a monthly. So I have weekly and monthly candles, basically, think of them on this chart. Okay, each candle's 4-hour candle. Okay, so there you go there. That's the explanation there. Now, each weekly profile, I want to know what was the most traded price of that week. Every monthly, I want to know what was the most traded price of that month. Okay. Now, when they stack up, and like I say, ultimate balance, I just want you guys to notice something. Notice when these weeks and months line up. What happens? Big move. See that? Big move happens. Let's show it again. These all lined up, right? What just happened? Big move down. And now we're tested it and we're going down again. Okay? So, this chart on the right, the heat map is from a year ago. Is from now to a year ago. So that's the heat map, okay? The white profile, which is here, is this year. Okay? And this right here is the most traded price of this year. It happens to be 52.74. Okay? But I want to show you something where we're at. Look at this large volume node right here at 55.30. Just like I said, remember I said 55.30 is a large composite volume node, high volume node. That's why. See all this congestion here at 55.31? That is going to be a big level to break. That does usually not get sliced through very easily. And that's why I think today you could get a bounce. But if you take this out and you hold it, boy, look at the gap. There's a big volume vacuum here that we could go right down. I don't know. We could. There's not much here till the most traded price of the year. I'm not saying we do that today, but it's very key for this market to hold that 55.30 level. Okay, very, very key. Okay, very, very key. Now you're gonna see something in this Nasdaq. All right, let's look at that. Let's bring it down so you guys can see. All right, now Nasdaq looks different. Looks different. Okay, I want to show you something very important. Okay, again, look at the most traded price of the month in the weeks lining up. You see this here? What happened? Big move down. You see that? Big move down. Now, where did we go again? To this large volume node. Around 19,971, about 20,000. That's 20,000. Okay. That's why that level was so big. We could not get above it. Now we're pushing down. Okay. What's here? That's the gap. This is that gap I'm talking about right here. Market has to defend that. If we don't, I want to show you something. This price, 185.47, is the most traded price of the last year and of this year. It's a huge level. Okay, see how the volume here is not, there's not many high volume nodes here. If we break and fill that gap and this market starts to go, we're gonna go right here, 185.47. If we really don't know, you want to really de-risk before this election, that's where we're going. And then the market bounces off there for Santa Claus, or it gets super weak. Okay, big high volume node. Look how much volume this is. Okay, this is how the market works. The market moves from high volume nodes, trends up, makes more high volumes. You know, this is how a market works. I'm hoping this makes sense. Okay, that's why I'm saying Nasdaq has to hold this level. That's why I said 55.30. The ES has to hold this level. All right, gave you a little bonus there with volume profile and how powerful it is and how easy it makes it look on this chart for me to just look at these levels, right? So we have our plan today. Okay, I'm gonna be patient. Okay, I'm gonna be very patient. Large gaps are really hard to um, to trade. Like I said, usually get sometimes a relief bounce, and I think that could be timed for longs who were long yesterday to get out of their position. So we'll have to see. All right. So today, wish everybody luck. Stays green. If you don't have a trade set up and your plan doesn't come out, you have no trade. Okay. So today, focus. We got our plan. 55.30 is very key in the ES. Okay. 55.30. And then the Qs has to defend last week's lows. Okay, I think it's pushed past that now, but we'll have to see. Okay, so everybody, I'll see everybody tomorrow.